The rain fell like poison from the dark sky. Each drop burned where it touched. On the planet Kepler 442b, the rain never stopped. It ate through metal and stone. It killed anything that stayed outside too long, but Nari sat in the rain anyway. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the darkness. The acid rain made small burns on her arms and face. She did not move. She did not try to find shelter. She had nowhere to go. The human mining colony sat behind her. A great dome of clear metal protected the humans inside. Bright lights shone from their buildings. Warm air came from their machines. But Nari could not go inside. The humans did not want her kind near them. Nari was Zarathi. Her people were old and powerful. They could speak with their minds. They could move things without touching them. They ruled many worlds across the galaxy. But they did not want Nari. She was broken. All Zarathi could push thoughts into other minds. They could make others feel what they felt. They could share ideas without words. But Nari could only receive. She heard the thoughts of others. She felt their emotions like waves crashing over her. But she could never send anything back. Her people called her defective. They said she was worthless. 3 days ago, they had brought her to this mining world and left her. They told the humans she was dead. They erased her name from all records. To the Zarathi, Nari no longer existed. The rain grew heavier. It hissed when it hit the ground. Nari felt the acid eating through her clothes. Her skin began to blister. Still she sat. Inside the colony dome, she could sense the humans. Their emotions were loud and messy, not like Zarathi minds, which were cold and controlled. The humans felt fear and anger and sadness all at once. They worried about their families, back home. They missed the sun and real rain that did not burn. One human mind was different from the others. It was calm and steady. It noticed her sitting in the rain. It felt something she had never sensed from any being before. It felt sorry for her. Minho stood at the observation window of the mining station. He was 45 years old. His hands were rough from years of hard work. His face was weathered from working under alien suns. He supervised the mining teams that dug precious metals from this awful planet. He watched the blue-skinned alien girl sitting in the acid rain. She had been there for hours. The rain should have killed her by now, but she was still alive, still sitting there like a statue. "Sir, you should not look at that thing." Hiok came up behind him. He was young and scared of everything on this planet. "The Zarathi are dangerous. They can control your mind." "She is just sitting there," Minho said. "She is not doing anything." "Maybe she is planning something bad," Taiwan added. He was older than Hiok, but just as afraid. "The Zarathi hate humans. They think we are animals." Minho kept watching. The girl had not moved in 3 hours. The rain was getting worse. Soon it would be strong enough to kill even a Zarathi. "Why is she out there?" he asked. "Who cares?" Hiok said. "Let her die. One less alien to worry about." But Minho did care. He had seen suffering before. He had been a soldier once before he became a miner. He knew what it looked like when someone had given up hope. The alien girl looked exactly like that. The rain began to eat through her skin. Small wounds opened on her arms and legs. She started to lean forward. Her blue glow was getting dimmer. "She is dying," Minho said. "Good," said Taiwan. "The Zarathi would not help us if we were dying." This was true. The Zarathi thought humans were primitive and violent. They only traded with humans because humans were good at mining in dangerous places. But they never helped humans. They never showed kindness. Minho watched the girl fall to one knee. The acid rain was winning. In a few more minutes, she would be dead. He made a choice that surprised everyone, including himself. "Get me a protective suit," he said. "What?" Hiok stared at him. "Sir, you cannot go out there. She is dying." "She is Zarathi," Taiwan said. "They are our enemies." "She is a person," Minho said, "and she is dying." He walked to the equipment. room. Hyok and Taewon followed, trying to change his mind. Other miners gathered around. They all said the same things. The Zarathi were dangerous. They were enemies. They would not help humans. Why should humans help them? Minho put on the heavy protective suit. It would keep the acid rain from burning him, but it was clumsy and hard to move in. If the alien girl attacked him, he would not be able to defend himself. "This is crazy," Minji said. She ran the communication systems for the colony. She was smart and careful. "The company will not like this. They will say you put everyone in danger." "Maybe," Minho said. He checked the suit's air supply. "But I cannot watch someone die when I can help." He walked to the airlock. The other miners watched through the windows. Some shook their heads. Some looked angry. But some looked curious. What would happen when a human tried to help a Zarathi? Minho stepped outside the dome. The acid rain hit his suit like bullets. It hissed and steamed on the protective metal. He could barely see through the helmet's glass. The rain was so thick it was like walking through a waterfall of poison. He found the alien girl collapsed on the ground. She was barely breathing. The rain had burned holes in her strange clothes. Her blue skin was covered with wounds. Minho knelt beside her. Up close, she looked very young, maybe 20 in human years. Her face was peaceful despite the pain. She had given up fighting. He picked her up carefully. She was lighter than he expected. Her body was warm, even in the cold rain. As he lifted her, her eyes opened. They were large and silver, like mirrors. For a moment, she looked right at him. Even through his helmet, even through the storm, he could see the surprise in those silver eyes. No one had touched her gently in a very long time. Minho carried her back to the colony dome. The other humans watched in silence as he brought the enemy inside. Nari woke up in a place that did not hurt. For 3 days, everything had been pain. The cold ground, the burning rain, the sharp words of her own people telling her she was worthless. But now she lay on something soft. The air smelled clean. Warm light came from above. She opened her silver eyes slowly. A human face looked down at her. The man had kind eyes and gentle hands. He was checking bandages on her arms where the acid rain had burned her. "Hello," the human said softly. "My name is Junho. I am a doctor. You are safe now." Nari tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. Junho put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Do not move yet," he said. "Your wounds need time to heal." Nari stared at him. She could sense his emotions clearly. He was worried about her pain. He wanted to help her feel better. She had never felt such genuine care from any being before. Through the walls, she could sense other human minds. They were arguing about her. "She is dangerous," one mind said with fear. "All Zarathi can control thoughts. She might make us do bad things." "We should send her back to her people," another mind worried. "They will be angry if we keep her." But one mind was different. It was calm and strong. She recognized it from before. It was the one that had saved her from the rain. Minho entered the medical room. He looked tired but relieved to see her awake. "How do you feel?" he asked. Nari tried to speak, but her throat was raw from the acid rain. Shunhyo gave her water to drink. It was the cleanest, coolest water she had ever tasted. "Why?" she finally whispered. "Why did you help me?" The question seemed to surprise Minho. "Because you needed help." "But I am Zarathi. Your people and my people are not friends." "You are not your people," Minho said simply. "You are you. And you were dying." Through the walls, more human minds approached. Minji, the communications officer, entered with a data pad in her hands. Her emotions were complicated. She felt sorry for Nari, but also afraid of what might happen to the colony. "Minho, we have a problem," Minji said. She looked at Nari nervously. "I tried to contact the Zarathi ship that brought her here. They said they never brought anyone to this planet. According to their records, no Zarathi named Nari exists. The words hit Nari like a physical blow. She already knew this, but hearing it said out loud made it real. Her own people had erased her completely. What does that mean? Junho asked. It means she officially does not exist, Minji explained. To the Zarathi government, she was never born. She has no legal standing, no protection, no home to return to. Nari felt tears start to form in her silver eyes. The humans could sense her sadness even without telepathy. She could feel their emotions change. Their fear began to mix with sympathy. Hyuk and Taewon appeared in the doorway. They had been listening to the conversation. See, Hyuk said. Even her own people do not want her. Why should we keep her? Because no one else will, Minho said firmly. This is not our problem, Taewon argued. We came here to mine, not to rescue aliens. What if it was one of us? Junho asked quietly. What if you were hurt and alone on an alien world? Would you not want someone to help you? Taewon shifted uncomfortably. That is different. We are human. Pain is pain, Minho said. Loneliness is loneliness. It does not matter what species you are. Nari listened to their argument with growing amazement. These humans were debating whether to risk their safety for someone they barely knew, someone who was not even their species. The Zarathi would never have such a discussion. They would calculate the logical benefit and make a cold decision. But humans were different. They felt things deeply. They struggled with right and wrong. They cared about individuals, not just their own group. I can work, Nari said suddenly. All the humans turned to look at her. I am not useless. I can help with your mining. How? Minji asked, curious despite her fear. My telepathy works differently, Nari explained. I can sense things underground, metals, gems, dangerous gases. I can help you find what you are looking for and avoid what might hurt you. The humans exchanged looks. This was something they had not expected. The company would like that, Hyuk admitted. Finding deposits faster would save time and money. But can we trust her? Taewon asked. Nari felt a surge of desperate hope. I give you my word. I will not hurt anyone here. I just want to belong somewhere. Minho looked at her carefully. What happened to you? Why did your people leave you here? Nari hesitated. The truth was shameful. But these humans had shown her honesty. She owed them the same. I am broken, she said. All Zarathi can send thoughts to other minds. But I can only receive. I can hear what others think and feel, but I cannot speak back with my mind. My people say this makes me worthless. That is why they abandoned you? Junho looked shocked. Because your telepathy is different? Nari nodded. They said I was a mistake, a failed experiment. They brought me here and told everyone I had died. The room fell silent. The humans stared at her with expressions she could not read at first. Then she realized what she was sensing from their minds. It was not disgust or pity. It was anger. They were angry at her people for treating her badly. That is terrible, Minji said softly. No one should be thrown away because they are different, Yunhyo added. Minho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the acid rain continued to fall. You can stay, he said finally, as long as you want. This colony follows human law, and human law says everyone deserves sanctuary if they need it. Nari felt something she had never experienced before. It was warm and bright and made her chest feel full. Later, she would learn that humans called this feeling hope. Thank you, she whispered. But Minho shook his head. Do not thank me yet. Living with humans is not easy. We are loud and messy and emotional. We argue a lot. We make mistakes. That sounds wonderful, Nari said, and she meant it. For the first time in her life, she was somewhere that being broken might not matter. She was somewhere that being different might actually be accepted. She was home. 3 weeks passed like a dream Nari never wanted to end. Every morning, she woke up in a small room the humans had given her. It had a soft bed, clean clothes, and a window that looked out at the mining equipment. The acid rain still fell, but now she watched it from safety and warmth. The humans had accepted her presence, though some were still careful around her. She proved her worth quickly by helping them find new deposits of precious metals. Her telepathy could sense the different vibrations in the rock. She could feel where the valuable ores were hiding. "Here," she told Sujin, the chief engineer, pointing to a spot on the rock wall. "There is gold 3 meters down, but be careful. There is also a pocket of dangerous gas nearby." Sujin was a woman with clever eyes and steady hands. At first, she had been suspicious of Nari's abilities. But after Nari helped them avoid 2 cave-ins and find the richest gold vein in the colony's history, Sujin began to trust her. "How do you do it?" Sujin asked as they walked through the mining tunnels. "How can you sense what is in the rock?" "Everything has a feeling," Nari explained. "Gold feels warm and heavy. Silver feels cool and light. Dangerous gases feel sharp and angry. I can sense their emotions through the stone." Sujin laughed. "You make it sound like rocks have feelings." "Maybe they do," Nari said. "Maybe everything does, and most beings just cannot sense it." This made Sujin think. She began to show Nari how human technology worked. Nari was fascinated by the machines that dug through rock and the computers that controlled them. The humans had no telepathy, so they had built tools to do what other species did with their minds. "We may not be able to read thoughts," Sujin explained, "but we can build machines that think for us." "That is amazing," Nari said. "You created minds outside your own minds." Sujin had never thought of computers that way before. Talking with Nari made her see her own work differently. In the evenings, Do-hyun would visit Nari in the common room. He was the colony's cultural liaison, responsible for keeping the humans connected to their homeworld. He brought books, music, and videos from Earth. "This is called music," he said, playing a soft song through the speakers. Nari listened with wonder. The Zarathi had no music. They communicated perfectly through telepathy, so they had never needed to express emotions through sound. But human music made her feel things she had no words for. "It is beautiful," she said. "It makes my heart feel bigger." Do-hyun smiled. "That is exactly what music should do." He showed her paintings and photographs from Earth. Pictures of blue oceans under yellow suns, green forests where rain helped. Things grow instead of destroying them. Animals that lived freely without fear. "Is Earth really like this?" Nari asked, touching a picture of children playing in a garden. "Yes," Do-hyun said. "Earth has problems too, but it also has beauty. Humans learn to find joy even in difficult places." This was another mystery to Nari. The Zarafi were logical and efficient. They did not waste time on things like art or music or play, but humans seemed to need these things to be happy. She began to understand that humans were not primitive. They were different. They had developed emotional intelligence instead of telepathic power. They had learned to connect without reading minds. One day, she witnessed something that changed how she saw humans forever. Ji-ho, a young miner, received bad news from home. His father had died in an accident. Ji-ho sat in the cafeteria, crying, openly. Nari could sense his grief like a storm of pain and loss. Other humans gathered around him. They did not try to fix his sadness. They did not tell him to be logical. They simply stayed with him. Yuna, a maintenance worker who barely knew Ji-ho, sat beside him and held his hand. She said nothing, but Nari could sense her emotions. Yuna was homesick and lonely too, but she put her own sadness aside to help Ji-ho with his. "I am sorry about your father," Yuna said softly. "He was a good man. Jiho whispered. I will never see him again. But you will always carry him with you, Yuna replied. In your memories, in the good things he taught you. Death ends life, but it does not end love. Other humans brought food, tissues, and quiet company. They shared their own stories of loss. They did not try to take Jiho's pain away, but they made sure he did not carry it alone. Nari watched this with amazement. These humans barely knew each other. They came from different countries, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but they came together to help someone who was hurting. The Zarathi would have been more efficient. They would have telepathically shared Jiho's pain among many minds until it was diluted and manageable. But they would not have offered the warmth, the presence, the choice to care that the humans gave freely. That night, as Nari lay in her bed, she realized something important. She had always thought her broken telepathy was a curse. She could feel others' emotions but could not share her own. But now she wondered if this was actually a gift. She could sense the genuine kindness in human hearts. She could feel how they chose to care for each other without knowing what others truly thought. Their compassion was real because it was chosen, not because it was telepathically shared. The next morning brought danger. Nari was helping Sujin calibrate some mining equipment when her telepathy detected something alarming. Far above, beyond the colony's sensors, alien minds approached. Cold, controlled, familiar minds. Zarathi. We have to warn everyone, Nari said urgently. What is wrong? Sujin asked. My people are coming. They are invisible to your sensors, but I can sense their thoughts. They are angry about something. Sujin immediately contacted Minho. Within minutes, the colony was on alert. Humans ran to their stations, preparing defenses and trying to figure out what the Zarathi wanted. But Nari already knew. She could sense it in the approaching minds. They had learned she was alive. They had come to take her back. She faced a choice. That would define everything. She could reveal herself to the Zarathi and go with them peacefully, saving the humans from conflict. Or she could warn the humans about Zarathi tactics and truly commit to her new home. It was not really a choice at all. These humans had shown her kindness when no one else would. They had given her a home when her own people had thrown her away. They had proven that beings could choose to care for each other across any difference. Now it was her turn to choose. Them. The Zarathi ships have weapons that affect minds, she told Minho quickly. They can make non-telepaths confused and afraid, but I know how their technology works. I can help you defend against it. Minho looked at her seriously. Helping us fight your own people will make you a traitor to them forever. There will be no going back. Nari thought about her small room, her soft bed, the humans who had learned her name and remembered her preferences. She thought about Sujin's patient explanations, Do-hyun's gift of music, and Yuna's freely chosen kindness to a grieving friend. I am already home, she said. I will not let anyone take that away. The Zarathi ships appeared on the horizon like silver daggers cutting through. The acid rain. But for the first time in her life, Nari was not afraid. She was not alone anymore. The Zarathi ship landed like a silver blade cutting through the storm. It was beautiful and terrible, made of materials that seemed to bend light around them. The acid rain could not touch its surface. Nari watched from the observation deck as a figure emerged from the ship. She recognized him immediately. Ambassador Kethvar, one of the most powerful Zarathi diplomats. His mind was cold and sharp like ice. He had personally ordered her exile. Why is he here? Minho asked, standing beside her. For me, Nari said quietly. I can sense his thoughts. He knows I am alive. Seo-hyun, the colony governor, came running into the room. She was a small woman with fierce eyes and a voice that commanded respect. We have a problem, Seo-hyun announced. The Zarathi are demanding immediate access to the colony. They claim we are harboring stolen property. Stolen property? Minho's voice was dangerous. They mean Nari. They say she belongs to them by law, Seo-hyun continued. They want her returned immediately. Nari felt her heart sink. She had known this day might come, but she had hoped for more time. More time to belong somewhere. More time to feel wanted. I should go with them, she said softly. I do not want to cause trouble for you. No, Minho said firmly. This is your home now. You choose where you belong. 20 minutes later, Ambassador Kethvar entered the colony's main conference room. He was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like blue metal. His clothes seemed to be made of liquid silver. When he looked at the humans, his expression showed nothing but contempt. I am Ambassador Kethvar of the Zarathi High Council, he announced. I have come for the property you have stolen from us. Property? Seo-hyun stood up straight, meeting his gaze without fear. We do not deal in property here. We deal with people. Kethvar's silver eyes found Nari, who stood between Minho and Junho. That creature is not a person. She is a failed experiment, a genetic mistake that should have been destroyed long ago. Nari flinched at his words. Even though she had heard similar things before, they still hurt. But Minho stepped forward. Her name is Nari. She is our friend and colleague. She has done nothing wrong. She exists, Kethvar said coldly. That is wrong enough. She was meant to be disposed of quietly. Instead, you primitives have interfered with our internal affairs. Your internal affairs? Seo-hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. You dumped a dying girl on our planet and declared her dead. That makes her our affair now. Kethvar's telepathic abilities pressed against the room like cold wind. The humans felt sudden fear and confusion, but they fought against it. Nari could sense their struggle. They were trying to resist alien mental influence through pure determination. You do not understand what she is, Kethvar continued. She is not truly defective. She is the first of a new evolutionary branch. Her telepathy works differently because she is meant to bridge the gap between telepathic and non-telepathic minds. We need to study her. Study her? Junho looked horrified. You mean experiment on her? We mean to unlock her potential for the benefit of all species, Kethvar replied. She could help us communicate with primitive races like yours more effectively. Nari felt sick. They did not want her as a person. They wanted her as a tool, a way to control non-telepathic species better. I will not go back, she said, her voice stronger than she felt. I choose to stay here. Kethvar looked at her as if she were an insect. You do not have choices. You are Zarathi property, created by our genetic programs for our purposes. She is a living being with her own will, Minho said angrily. You cannot own someone. We own her genetic code. We own her telepathic abilities. We own her potential. Kethvar turned back to Seo-hyun. Return our property or face the consequences. What consequences? Seo-hyun asked. All trade agreements between the Zarathi Empire and the Human Mining Consortium will end immediately. All mining permits for Zarathi-controlled worlds will be revoked. All protection agreements will become void. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The mining consortium depended on Zarathi permissions to work on dozens of worlds. Without those agreements, thousands of humans would lose their jobs. Entire colonies would be shut down. You are threatening economic warfare over one person? Seo-hyun asked. Over one piece of property? Yes. Nari could sense the emotions. In the room changing, fear was growing. Some humans were starting to think that maybe sacrificing her was worth avoiding such massive consequences. But not all of them. How much time do we have to decide? Seo-hyun asked. You have until tomorrow at sunrise. After that, we will take more direct action. Kethvar turned and walked toward the exit. Choose wisely, primitives. Your entire species' future may depend on this decision. After he left, the room erupted in arguments. "We cannot fight the entire Zarathi Empire," Hayok said frantically. "They will destroy us." "If we give up Nari, what does that make us?" Junho countered. "What kind of people abandon someone who trusted them?" "Practical people," Taewon argued. "People who think about the greater good." "The greater good includes not betraying our friends," Minji said firmly. Seo-hyun held up her hand for silence. "This decision affects more than just our colony. I need to contact headquarters and the other colony worlds. We need to vote." Over the next several hours, messages flew between colony worlds and corporate headquarters. The debate was fierce. Some colonies voted to surrender Nari to save their economic agreements. Others voted to protect her regardless of the cost. Nari sat in her room, listening to the arguments through the walls with her telepathy. She could feel the colony tearing itself apart over her. Some humans were angry at her for bringing this trouble. Others were angry at the Zarathi for their threats. That evening, Minho knocked on her door. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I am scared," she admitted. "But not just for myself. I am scared I have brought disaster to all of you." "You did not bring disaster," Minho said. "You brought choice. We can choose to be the kind of people who protect those who need protection, or we can choose to be the kind who give up when threatened. But the consequences—" "There are always consequences," Minho interrupted. "The question is which consequences we can live with." That night, the final votes came in from all the human colonies and corporate headquarters. The decision was close, but clear. The next morning, Seo-hyun faced Ambassador Kethvar with her answer. "We have voted," she announced. "The Human Mining Consortium and all associated colonies reject your demands. Nari has chosen to remain with us, and we choose to honor that decision." Kethvar's expression did not change, but Nari could sense his fury. "You would sacrifice your entire economic future for one defective alien?" "We would sacrifice our economic future to remain the kind of people we want to be," Seo-hyun replied. "Humans do not abandon family regardless of species." "Family?" Kethvar seemed genuinely puzzled by the concept. "Yes," Minho said, standing beside Nari. "Family. Something you apparently do not understand." Kethvar looked around the room at all the human faces. They were scared, but they were united. They had chosen principle over profit, loyalty over logic. "You are all fools," he said finally. "You will regret this decision." "Maybe," Seo-hyun agreed, "but we will regret it as free people who stood by our values." As Kethvar left, Nari felt something she had never experienced before. It was bigger than hope, warmer than belonging. For the first time in her life, she was part of a group that had chosen her over their own safety. She was truly, finally, home. But she could sense Kethvar's thoughts as he departed. The Zarathi were not done with them yet. The attack came 3 days later, just as the humans were starting to feel safe again. Nari sensed it first. She was in the engineering section with Soo-jin when a wave of wrongness washed over her telepathic senses. It felt like ice water flooding her mind, bringing whispers that did not belong to any living being. "Something is wrong," she gasped, clutching her head. "What kind of wrong?" Soo-jin asked, immediately alert. "The Zarathi. They are using a psychic weapon. It is designed to drive non-telepathic minds to madness." Even as she spoke, alarms began sounding throughout the colony. In the cafeteria, Yuna suddenly started screaming about invisible monsters crawling on her skin. In the mining tunnels, Ji-ho began talking to his dead father as if he were standing right there. The humans were seeing things that did not exist, hearing voices that were not real. Their minds were being torn apart by artificial telepathic signals designed to overwhelm species that had no natural mental defenses. "We have to get to the control center," Nari said urgently. "I need to see the mining equipment." They ran through corridors filled with confused, frightened humans. Some sat in corners, rocking back and forth. Others ran from invisible threats. The lucky ones had simply passed out. In the control center, they found Minho trying to coordinate a response while fighting his own hallucinations. He kept reaching for communications equipment that was not there, responding to emergency calls that existed only in his fractured mind. "Minho," Nari said gently, "look at me. Focus on my voice." His eyes found hers, and for a moment he seemed clearer. "Nari, what is happening to us?" "Psychic warfare," she explained quickly. "The Zarathi are broadcasting signals that make your mind see false things, but I think I can stop it." "How?" Nari turned to Sujin, who was somehow still thinking clearly, despite the chaos around them. "The mining equipment, the deep core drills. They use electromagnetic resonance to break through rock, right?" "Yes," Sujin said, understanding immediately. "You want to use them as a telepathic amplifier." "Exactly. If we can modify the resonance frequency, I can project a protective field around the entire colony, but I will need help to keep the equipment running while I maintain the shield." Sujin nodded grimly. "Sunwoo and Yunbi are in the equipment bay. If anyone can keep the machinery stable, they can." They made their way through the colony, gathering the few humans who were still functional. Guman, the tech specialist, was found huddled in a supply closet, but he could still work. Wanho, an elderly miner, was seeing his deceased wife everywhere, but his hands still remembered how to operate heavy machinery. In the equipment bay, they found chaos. Sunwoo was frantically trying to repair drilling equipment that was not actually broken, responding to false sensor readings created by the psychic attack. Yunbi was shouting instructions to workers who were not there. "Sunwoo! Yunbi!" Nari called out. "I need you to listen to me very carefully." It took precious minutes to get them focused, but eventually they understood the plan. They would modify the electromagnetic resonance of the drilling equipment to amplify Nari's telepathic abilities. She would then project a protective shield around the colony that would block the Zarathi psychic weapon. "This is completely insane," Guman muttered as he rewired control circuits. "We are trying to turn mining equipment into a telepathic transmitter." "Insane plans are the only ones that work against the Zarathi," Nari replied. "They are too logical to expect something this creative." The work was dangerous. The modified equipment could explode if they made mistakes. The psychic weapon was getting stronger, making it harder for the humans to think clearly. And they had no idea if Nari's plan would even work. But they kept going. Sunwoo ignored the hallucinated monsters trying to drag him away from his work. Yunbi kept adjusting power levels despite seeing false readings on every instrument. Wanho operated the heavy machinery while carrying on conversations with people who had died years ago. "Ready," Sujin announced finally. "But Nari, this is going to push the equipment beyond safe limits. We do not know how long it will hold." "It only needs to hold long enough," Nari said. She placed her hands on the modified control console. "Start it up." The equipment hummed to life with a sound like thunder. Nari felt the electromagnetic field surge through her telepathic abilities, amplifying them beyond anything she had ever experienced. Suddenly, she could sense every mind in the colony with perfect clarity. More importantly, she could sense the Zarathi ships orbiting above them, broadcasting their weapon of madness. Nari reached out with her enhanced telepathy and began to build a shield. It was unlike anything any Zarathi had ever attempted. Instead of controlling minds or sharing thoughts, she was protecting minds. She was giving non-telepathic beings the mental defenses they had never evolved to possess. The strain was enormous. Her telepathic abilities had never been designed for this kind of work. She could feel her mind stretching, threatening to break under the pressure. But then something amazing happened. As her shield took hold, the humans in the colony began to experience something impossible. They began to feel each other's thoughts and emotions directly. For the first time in their lives, they experienced true telepathic connection. Minho felt Junho's determination to save every person in the colony. Junho felt Minji's fierce love for her friends. Minji felt Hyok's courage as he overcame his fear to help others. The emotional bonds that had always existed between them became visible, tangible, real, and through it all, they felt Nari's mind, holding them safe. They experienced her memories of abandonment and loneliness. They felt her desperate gratitude for their acceptance. They understood, for the first time, exactly what their kindness had meant to her. The shield did more than protect them from the Zarathi weapon. It connected them in ways that went beyond species, beyond biology, beyond anything they had thought possible. On the Zarathi ships above, the attacking crew felt the shield form and were shocked by what they experienced through it. They had expected to encounter primitive minds driven to madness. Instead, they touched something they had never felt before. They felt the overwhelming warmth of chosen family. They felt humans willing to sacrifice themselves for someone who was not their species. They felt love that was freely given, not telepathically compelled. Ambassador Kethvar, monitoring the attack from his ship, was the most shocked of all. Through the shield, he experienced human emotional bonds for the first time. He felt their capacity to care for others without logical reason. He felt their willingness to suffer for principles they believed in. Impossible, he whispered. How can such primitive beings create such powerful connections? His tactical officer was equally confused. Ambassador, their shield is not just protecting them. It is showing them our thoughts as well. They can sense our attack patterns, our ship positions, our weapon capabilities. For the first time in Zarathi military history, non-telepathic beings were reading their minds. The humans, connected through Nari's shield, could anticipate every move the Zarathi made. Sir, another officer reported with growing alarm. The other ships are requesting permission to withdraw. The human emotional resonance is affecting our crews. Some of them are experiencing what they call compassion for the first time. It is disrupting their ability to function. Kethvar stared at the colony below, where a supposedly defective Zarathi was protecting a group of primitive humans with abilities no pure Zarathi had ever possessed. She was not just defending them, she was connecting them. She was proving that telepathy could be used for more than control or communication. It could be used for love. All ships, he commanded reluctantly, cease the attack and withdraw to minimum safe distance. In the colony, Nari collapsed as the psychic weapon shut down. The shield dissolved, and the humans returned to their normal, non-telepathic state. But they would never forget what they had felt. They would never forget the connections they had shared, and neither would the Zarathi who had witnessed it. The battle was over, but the real war was just beginning. It was a war between two different ideas about what it meant to be alive. To be conscious, to choose how to treat others, and for the first time, the humans were winning. The Zarathi fleet hung in the dark sky above the colony like silver stars that had forgotten how to shine. For 3 days, they had remained silent, neither attacking nor leaving. Nari could sense their confusion through the void of space. They had come to reclaim property and had instead witnessed something that challenged everything they believed about consciousness and connection. Inside the colony, life was slowly returning to normal, but nothing would ever be quite the same. The humans had experienced true telepathic connection, and the memory of it lingered in their minds like the echo of a beautiful song they could not quite remember. Wanho, the elderly miner who had initially opposed helping Nari, found her in the observation lounge where she often sat watching the rain. His weathered face was wet with tears. "I felt it," he said simply, sitting down beside her. "During the shield, I felt what you have been carrying all this time. The loneliness, the rejection, the pain of being told you are worthless." His voice broke. "I am so sorry we made you wait so long to feel wanted." Nari touched his hand gently. "You did not know. I could not tell you. But you showed me kindness anyway." That is what makes humans special. But we could have done more. We could have been better. You saved my life, Nari said. You gave me a home. You chose to protect me even when it cost you everything. You could not have been better. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of 3 ships that were not Zerathi. These vessels bore the symbols of the Galactic Council, the organization that tried to maintain peace between the various species of the galaxy. Seo-hyun received the council representatives in the main conference room. They were an unusual group. A tall, plant-like Verdani named Counselor Thys, a crystalline being called Resonance of Deep Truth, and surprisingly, a human representative named Director Chen. We have come to investigate the events reported here, Counselor Thys announced. Her voice sounded like wind through leaves. The Zerathi have filed a formal complaint claiming that humans have violated interspecies law by harboring stolen property and using illegal psychic weapons. Stolen property? Director Chen looked disgusted. They mean Nari. The Zerathi claim she is genetically modified property created for their purposes. Resonance of Deep Truth chimed like distant bells. They demand her return and compensation for damages. Nari felt her heart sink. Would she be forced to leave after all? But Minho stood up boldly. Then they can speak to her directly. She is a sentient being with her own voice. Let her tell you what she wants. The council representatives looked surprised. You would allow the subject of dispute to testify on her own behalf? She is not a subject, Seo-hyun said firmly. She is a person. And yes, she will speak for herself. When Nari entered the room, the council representatives stared at her with fascination. They had never seen a Zerathi who moved with such humanity. Her posture, her expressions, even the way she walked had been changed by her time among humans. State your name and status, Counselor Thys requested. My name is Nari, she said clearly. I am a Zerathi, who chose to make her home among humans. I am also the first of my people to learn that telepathy can be used for protection instead of control, for love instead of dominance. The Zerathi claim you belong to them by genetic law, Resonance of Deep Truth stated. The Zerathi created my body, Nari agreed. But they did not create my mind, my choices, or my capacity to love. Those things I developed here, among beings who taught me that worth is not determined by function, but by the choice to care for others. Ambassador Kethvar entered the room at that moment, his silver robes flowing like liquid metal. Counselors, this creature is clearly malfunctioning. She has been contaminated by exposure to primitive emotional responses. She requires immediate recalibration. Recalibration? Director Chen looked appalled. You mean torture. We mean correction, Kethvar replied coldly. She was designed to bridge the gap between telepathic and non-telepathic species. Instead, she has become infected with irrational attachment to inferior beings. Inferior? Minho stood up, his voice dangerous. Is that what you call people who would risk everything to protect someone different from themselves? Kethvar looked at Minho with contempt. I call it waste. You have destroyed your own economic future for a single defective alien. That is not logical. No, Junho said, also standing. It is not logical. It is something better. It is right. One by one, the other humans in the room stood up. Sujin, Do-hyun, Minji, Yuna, Gyumin, Sunwoo, Yunbi, even Hyok and Taiwan, who had once wanted to send Nari away. We stand with Nari, Seo-hyun announced. Not because it is logical, but because she is family. Counselor Thys looked around the room with growing interest. This is most unusual. Humans. You understand that protecting this individual has cost your species significant economic advantages. Yes, Minho replied. And we would make the same choice again. Why? Because that is who we choose to be, Seo-hyun said simply. Resonance of deep truth, chimed thoughtfully. We have reviewed the sensor data from the recent conflict. The telepathic shield created here was unlike anything in our records. It did not control minds or force compliance. It connected beings across species barriers while respecting their individual will. How was this accomplished? Counselor Thies asked. Nari stepped forward. Through something the Zerathi have forgotten and other species never learned. Through the choice to protect instead of control. Through love that is freely given instead of telepathically compelled. Impossible, Kethvar scoffed. Love is inefficient. It leads to poor decisions and wasted resources. Does it? Director Chen smiled. Because from what I have seen, love led to the most advanced telepathic technique ever recorded. It led to cooperation between species that should have been enemies. It led to humans successfully defending against Zerathi psychic weapons. That seems quite efficient to me. The council representatives conferred quietly among themselves in languages that were not meant for biological ears. Finally, Counselor Thies spoke. We have reached a decision. The being known as Nari will be granted full legal personhood under Galactic Council law. She may choose her own residence and allegiance. Furthermore, this colony will be designated as a special research station for the study of interspecies emotional bonding. Kethvar looked outraged. This is unacceptable. She is Zerathi property. No, Resonance of Deep Truth chimed firmly. She is a person who happens to be of Zerathi origin. There is a significant difference. The Galactic Council is also interested in studying the telepathic techniques developed here, Counselor Thies continued. We believe they may represent a new form of psychic science that could benefit all species. Over the following weeks, the mining colony transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. Scientists and diplomats from dozens of species arrived to study what had happened. They called it the Kepler phenomenon, the first recorded case of stable emotional bonding between telepathic and non-telepathic species. Ji-young, a young xenobiologist, arrived from Earth to document how the bonds had formed. She interviewed everyone involved, trying to understand how humans had managed to create family ties that transcended biological differences. It started with one person making a choice, Minho explained during his interview. I chose to help someone who needed help. Everything else grew from that. But why did you choose to help her? Ji-young asked. She was not your species. She could have been dangerous. She was in pain, Minho said simply. When you see someone in pain, you help them. That is what humans do. Other species began sending their own outcasts and misfits to the colony. Beings who did not fit into their societies, who were considered defective or worthless, found their way to Kepler 442b. They found a place where being different was not just accepted, but valued. The colony grew into a unique community where the principles of chosen family and unconditional acceptance were not just ideals, but daily reality. Humans worked alongside aliens who had been rejected by their own kinds. They shared meals, told stories, and created art together. One evening, as Nari stood in the observation lounge watching the eternal rain, she realized that the acid storms no longer seemed threatening. They were just weather, part of the natural rhythm of her adopted world. Minho joined her as he often did in the evenings. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the lightning dance through the clouds. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Choosing to stay here instead of going back to your people? Nari smiled, feeling the warm presence of dozens of human minds around her, no longer lonely or isolated. How can I regret finding home? Even though it is a difficult home, with difficult people who make difficult choices, especially because of that, Nari replied. Easy choices do not require courage. Easy love does not require sacrifice. The Zerathi could share thoughts perfectly, but they never learned to choose kindness. Humans cannot read minds, but you choose to care anyway. That makes your love more valuable, not less. Through the windows, they could see other beings moving through the colony corridors, aliens and humans working together, playing together, building something new together. It was not perfect. There were still misunderstandings, conflicts, and mistakes, but there was also hope, acceptance, and the constant choice to keep trying.